Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. You know, there are lots of jewels that we have all over our community. There are people that have done work and done investigation and research, and it's only when they come out with a book sometimes that we hear more about that. That is certainly the case here. As welcome to the program, Mike Garner. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Pleasure being here.
Yeah. So, Mike, let's let people get to know you a little bit. Tell them a little bit about growing up and how we got to this point.
Oh, man. Well, I'm originally from New Orleans.
Right.
We grew up in Holly Grove in uptown New Orleans way back in the 80s. And my mom moved us out here. And even though we vacation here, my dad's family is originally from Terrebonne Parish.
Right.
We used to come out here and we used to cry, I don't want to go to the country. And, you know, there was no fishing, no hunting down in New Orleans. All we had was what we call the concrete jungle.
Right.
And, so we came down, but my mom decided that, you know, she wanted to get us out of the rat race that was the city of New Orleans. And she wanted us to have an opportunity to be productive and not become statistics of the city.
Yeah, and you know, one of those things is growing up in the city like that. You often, the parents get fearful of that, get a little afraid of that.
Yes, sir.
So, can you remember how old you were when y'all moved here?
Oh, I was 10.
10. Okay.
And yeah, that was a very interesting time.
Yeah. Culture shock for you?
Not so much because we had been
y'all
here
come down, right?
Yeah, every summer. We'd be down here.
Yeah.
I think they were secretly preparing us for it.
Oh,
not telling us.
Right.
But
and that was kind of the plan. How about your siblings?
All my siblings are here. You know, it was mainly me, my brother, and one of my older sisters.
Mm-hmm.
My other older sister stayed in New Orleans for a while because she was attending Xavier University
At the time.
Yeah.
Right. She was.
So she completed her college education and then she moved down here. Now she's in education. She's teaching.
Okay.
She's been an educator for well over 2 decades, close to 3 decades.
All right. Did that, finish school, and then where'd you go to school?
Well, I came down here initially started off at Southdown.
Southdown, right.
So Southdown was the elementary school. Went through Houma Junior High. I'm a Terrebonne High graduate. Terrebonne Tigers.
That's right. Go Tigers.
I'm also I've got a bachelor's degree from Purdue Global, and I'm working on my graduate degree right now.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good. I always like people to get to know you, the person, before you, the author. Tell me about when this idea came from you. And again, the book is called America, A Disconnected Society. Tell me a little bit about, and you see it pictured here, beautiful graphic, by the way. Tell me when the idea came along or when you started thinking about this.
Well, really, it's probably about 3 years ago.
Okay. Wow.
But the topics have always been there. I've kind of shied away from writing because I never wanted to be an author. Mm-hmm. It's just start writing and then all of a sudden, you know, one page becomes two and it's like, oh man, now I've got a compilation of pages.
Right.
So, but the topic is always, it's near to my heart. It's socioeconomic disparity, gang activity in life, and just the inability to have a communication in our country right now. Those are things that kind of spawned the need within me to kind of write and let this out.
Okay. Now, creatively, one of those things that some of us already know is some of your music. Now, has some of that music kind of bled some of those topics a little different? Your music's a little different from your writing.
Yes, it is. I do Christian music.
Right.
I've been in worship for a long time. I've actually recently retired from my worship team, probably like 3 years ago. But I still write worship music. But it's always been an outlet for me. I've always loved music. I love all music, and I've been a student of music as that was one of the hiding places I had when I was younger, music.
Being very eclectic, being different types of music and enjoying that. But there's something about Christian music and more specifically worship music that I think really gets people grounded. It helps them deal with the difficulty, helps them deal with what some of the challenges that life throws at you.
Absolutely.
And certainly been that way for you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so now I don't find it by chance that, that worship team and the writing of that slowed down a little bit as your passion transitioned into the book.
Yes.
So very often we only have so much time,
right,
in life, right, to be able to write, whether it be songs or be the written word. And again, it's just really nice that you were able to kind of put those thoughts together, and be able to do that. And again, it's one of those things where we have to have an outlet.
Right.
When you were younger, the outlet was the summers, leaving the concrete jungle, as you put it, and coming, fishing and hunting and having a good time down in the country.
Yes.
Which I don't know very many people that describe it that way, but I mean, we got lots of waterways, we got lots of trees, we got lots of pastures we can run in. And that was the first outlet. It seemed like for a number of years, music has been the outlet. And now we transition to this book that was on your heart. Again, it's called America, Disconnected Society. It's kind of put on your heart to be able to do that. And so, again, I really want to dive into it, but we're gonna take a short break before we do. Is there one thing that really got you thinking, I've got to put this in print? Was there one idea that said, I got to move this forward?
I think the main thing for me was watching where we were as a society. And I've been a law enforcement professional for almost 29 years, but seeing that and seeing the relationships between law enforcement and the community and how the media has sometimes skewed
things,
it,
right?
Made the desire even more so.
Okay. And so part of work, part of who you are, and part of just seeing where we are with society. Well, I'm glad you've written it. We're going to take a break and we're going to come right back. All right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right, Mike's going to stick around. You do that as well. We'll be right back here on Bayou Time.
At Barker Honda in Houma, the summer is here, and so are the summer sizzling savings. Hot deals on every new Honda and pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV in stock. Find new Honda Pilot from only $39,987 or $399 a month. Or take your pick of brand new Honda CR-V at only $299 a month or Honda Accord $259 a month. Wow, summer is here, and so are our lowest prices of the year at Barker Honda in Houma. And remember, it's better at BarkerHonda.com.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. Welcome back to the program, Mike Garner. Mike, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks, Keith.
All right. And so, Mike, it's hard to kind of talk about this discrepancy of this disconnected society without talking about or mentioning race and racism. And today's June 19th. It's Juneteenth.
Right.
As we celebrate the emancipation. It's just really important. But that's a part of this book that I know that you've seen and kind of witnessed. And so it's really interesting. I always find, I went to Southern. I got my degree at Southern. And when I went to Southern University, it's a primarily black institution. Mm-hmm. And I saw some reverse racism that was very new to me. And so it really opened my eyes as a social worker to what people deal with. I would expect that in law enforcement, you've seen a lot of that from your side as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that that's where some of these ideas in the book have come from.
They are. They're absolutely. Life, definitely life stories.
Okay. Again, the big thing is just doing the years that you've spent, and the book itself is talking about socioeconomic disparity, racism, and criminal street gang problems. And very often we sometimes, I think, in how we report the information, maybe sometimes skew things a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about how that's come to be and what you've come to know.
Absolutely. I could tell you, Keith, and I was at Southern in '87 too. I was on the yard before I joined the Marine Corps in '88. But there gonna always be issues some of racial disparity, some not. And not everyone's racist. And like you said, reverse racism. I never subscribe to reverse racism. I just call all racism.
Racism is racism. I got you.
You know,
yeah, it was
like,
just one of those things that they kind of coined it as.
Absolutely. That's another thing that came out way back in the media. Like, yeah, it's reverse racism. No, it's just racism.
Right. Yeah. Racism is racism.
That's it, man.
Right.
It can only be what it is.
Right.
And I've seen that throughout my career. I've seen that growing up. My mom, she was raised in Fayette, Mississippi, which is maybe 100 or so miles away from where they found Emmett Till. So she grew up in early 60s Mississippi, and early 60s Mississippi was completely off the chain. My dad, of course, he was from the country, from down here on the Bayou, where people just love each other here on the Bayou. Now they get into it, but you know, there's a different kind of culture down here. It always has been.
Right.
And how they met up is remarkable. I mean, in New Orleans, just amazing. But the book goes into everything from the gang mindset of, you know, the mindset of gang activity.
Okay.
In law enforcement, in order to understand in order to address a problem, you have to understand it.
Okay.
And I know you, as a clinical social worker, you know, the ideology, just like we've faced with terrorism, in order to stop something, you have to be able to stop the ideology. You can't defeat an ideology without re-education. So you have to re-educate it. That's the mindset that we're trying to expose in this book. And I've, you know, throughout you'll see that I've had 2 nephews that I've lost, one to a violent home invasion crime, and another one to overdose. Those were things that actually impacted my life as well. That said, you know, I need to get this out.
Yeah, and we also need to, I love the idea of you talking about the fact that we need to understand the ideology so that we can address it and address the problem. We also need to find out what the ideology is, right?
Correct.
What the beginning is and where somebody starts. You can look at a problem and see the results of it, but if you don't understand where it started, very often we can't address it. So, you know, if we have issues, if people have issues, let's go back and find out where that started, you know, see where they are, start where they are, but let's go back to see what we can do to fix it. And taking these ideas of what may be causing the problems and addressing the cause.
Right.
Yeah, and we're seeing that a lot. I will tell you, I'm very, very happy with the programs that are now being done for youth in these larger cities. New Orleans is a great example, where we've got some people who don't have a whole lot of downtime because they have lots of options, be it music or sports or whatever it is. I was talking to a friend of mine who does recreation over in Thibodeau for many, many years, and he said, man, I knew recreation was going to speed up for me then, but now as the mayor, he's overseeing so many programs, and that's to be able to keep our kids connected, help them understand that they're not on an island, that people are there for them, that the teams matter.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's how we overcome some of those things, and some strong role models, and being able to share with them people who have who grew up in New Orleans, live in New Orleans, know what that's like, but can relate to them and relate to what it's like being a young man wherever you are, and being able to say, this doesn't define you.
Correct.
That you can find a way out of this. You can break a pattern. You know, learning what happened with your nephews, and you know, sometimes they're family members that feel defeated by those things. I think it's important to be able to take those ideas and say, we don't have to be defined by that.
Correct.
Right.
And those things we have to do. And you're 100% right. You know, too often that we have a mindset of, and this is where the disconnect come in. If it's not happening in my neighborhood, it doesn't affect me. But that's unfortunately not true, because you don't know when it's going to spill over. And also, when you see things like violent crime happening somewhere, it's easy for us to see that someone was shot and you got a victim, a tangible victim. But the thing that you don't see are the kids who have watched this happen and the trauma that they've embraced.
Yeah.
And now you got 2 victims. So you have to address their mental health
as well. So, Jay, put it up one more time. I want people to be able to go out and get it if they need. Again, by Mike Anthony Garner, America, a Disconnected Society. Mark, we appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. Thank you for what you do and what the book will do for so many others.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Keith. Thanks Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment and this Bayou Time, but don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.
At Barker Honda in Houma, the summer is here, and so are the summer sizzling savings. Hot deals on every new Honda and pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV in stock. Find new Honda Pilot from only $39,987 or $399 a month. Or take your pick of brand new Honda CR-V at only $299 a month or Honda Accord $259 a month. Wow, summer is here, and so are our lowest prices of the year at Barker Honda in Houma. And remember, it's better at BarkerHonda.com.